I'll take care of the farm material.
We'd ask if y'all would, let's please stand for our pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. And if you would please remain standing for a moment of silence. All right, thank you. We want to welcome everyone to our board meeting tonight. As you can tell, no, I am not Angela Conrad. Unfortunately, our president took ill, but she does say that she's watching everyone from TV here. We're going to go ahead, Dr. Fagan, turn it over to you for our inspiring moments.
Thank you. Well, the start of the school year was not at all what we expected, but we were able to witness firsthand how the Humble ISD community comes together in the times of crisis to support one another. Tonight's inspiring moment shows just how a portion of our local heroes at work and how we've begun to put our communities and schools back together.
It's absolutely tremendous. Every campus I've gone to that needed help, everybody's there, very, very open, very willing to give us some assistance. Volunteers show up saying, hey, how can we help unload your bus? It's just, Humble ISD folks are just tremendous.
Obviously they needed help unloading the bus, so we hopped on the bus, caught a ride out here, and just wanted to be a part of helping.
Very odd trip. We actually had to go out of town to Conroe and make a giant loop about an hour and a half long just to come out here and down 59 to be able to come down North Park Drive.
Patriots, we're just all about helping each other as a team, so that really influenced us outside of the team and like with our family and the community, so that's what prompted me to do it.
It's really important for everybody to see that being out in the community and those around you, helping those out, it's 10 times better than any feeling in the world.
My wife told me on Facebook, you guys posted a thing to come out here and volunteer. Look, any way I can help that. It's such a tragic situation for everybody in the community, and just be able to do any little thing I can. Happy to be able to help. You know, my kids go to Humble ISD, and it's just happy to see Humble ISD out here using their buses in their facility to conduct all this. It's great.
Today we have what I call the donation station, which was trying to bring resources to our families here in the Humble community.
It is incredible. This morning we've done 2 shifts, about 2 hours per shift, and this morning we had 60-something families, and this afternoon I would say we've had that many. So we've serviced at least 100, maybe 150 families today.
as hard as I thought. Like, I thought the hallways were gonna be like elbow to elbow. You're like trying to get through, but it was pretty easy to get to classes, and the teachers are nice. So it's good. It's a great school.
Oh, we can't wait for the kids to come.
Yes.
We're so excited for students.
And the welcome that we have felt from the Summer Creek community has been outstanding. They couldn't make us feel more welcome.
They are wonderful. Absolutely.
It's going to be an awesome year.
So just want to say from Kingwood High School to the Summer Creek community, thank you so much for all that you've done for us. Without you, we wouldn't exist, and we are forever in your debt, and it's a debt we'll never be able to repay. So thank you.
Excellent job for those who were contributing to that video. Very well done, captures that which we're so proud of after a very challenging week together. I'd like to thank the Humble ISD community for continuously showing support for one another above and beyond in a time that's been very challenging. We continue to grow stronger together, and just solidifies the fact that I am very proud to serve as the superintendent for such an incredible community. Next, we would like to present the Secondary Teachers of the Year. So would Mrs. Hayhurst and Mr. Kramer please go to the podium? We are happy to honor some very important people this evening. Tonight we recognize the 2017-18 Secondary Teachers of the Year. Next month we will celebrate our 2017-18 Elementary Teachers of the Year. Assistant Superintendents of Schools Melissa Hayhurst and Trey Kramer will now recognize the Secondary Teachers of the Year.
First, I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Middle Schools, and it is with great honor that I introduce our 2016-17 Teachers of the Year, or 17-18. And for those of you who have not been on a middle school campus, you may reflect on your own middle school children. And I remember, even though I was absolutely the perfect child growing up, that was the time when my mother had said to me, frequently, I love you because you are mine, and some days I don't like you at all. And so that is an age where from 11 to 13, they are adventurous, they are risk takers, and yet they are also wanting to fit in and to be a part of the crowd. And middle school teachers are amazing, amazing people, because you never know if you're going to greet a 12-year-old who is bursting into tears, or one who is 5 minutes later celebrating because she's been invited to a slumber party. And so these people, while they are not as hormonally imbalanced as their students are, they do a phenomenal job every day. And so it is my pleasure to recognize these individuals. And so when I call your name, please come forward. And I believe the process is for you to remain up here, not only for an individual, but for a group photo. And so beginning with Atascocita Middle School, Priscilla Kubacek, who is also being honored as a district finalist. So from Creekwood Middle School, Ellen Cheney. Ellen? No? So Ms. Cheney is also being honored as a district finalist. She is obviously not here tonight, but we will make sure we get her plaque to her. From Humble Middle School, Tamika Williams. From Kingwood Middle School, Michelle Neyre. From Riverwood Middle School, Shayla Green. And Miss Green is also being honored as a district finalist. From Ross Sterling Middle School, Kashika Smith. And it is my understanding that Ms. Smith could not be with us tonight, but also we will get her plaque to her as well. From Timberwood Middle School, Heather Siska. And last but certainly not least, from Wood Creek Middle School, Cornelia Patterson. So thank you again and congratulations to the Middle School Teachers of the Year. And so Mr. Kramer, Assistant Superintendent for High Schools, will be recognizing our High School Teachers of the Year.
Thank you, Ms. Hayhurst. It is an honor and a privilege to always stand before our High School Teachers of the Year, having been I'm a recovering high school principal, and so I knew how important that was on my campus to always recognize our individuals, and so to stand before you tonight and be able to recognize each campus representative, it truly is an honor, and the folks that you see tonight are the very best and brightest that we have to offer in our high schools, and I'm very proud of all of them. So I'd like to start off first with a Tostada High School, Miss Carly Kennedy. While Carly is coming up, I would like to also tell you that Ms. Kennedy is also being honored as the District Teacher of the Year. Next, we have from Humble High School, Saul Tapia. Saul is the Campus Teacher of the Year. He is not here tonight, but we will get his plaque to him. Thank you. Next, from Kingwood High School, Mr. David Neese. And David, I was with David at Kingwood High. I was at Summer Creek with David until about 6:15 tonight, so I know he's not going to be here. But he told me to tell you guys thank you, and he is not here, and we'll get him. He's also being honored as a district finalist, and I'll get his plaque to him also. Thank you. Next up, from Kingwood Park, Miss Amy Balke, Campus Teacher of the Year. Next, from Quest Early College High School, Mr. Brett Crawford, Campus Teacher of the Year. I'm a little biased on this next one from Summer Creek High School. When we opened up Summer Creek, she was a member of our staff, Miss Haley Huskey, Campus Teacher of the Year. From our Kate Center, it's Kara Hassler Newsom. Miss Newsom is not able to be here tonight, but we will get her plaque to her. And then finally, at our Community Learning Center, Esperanza McGee, Campus Teacher of the Year. Thank you. At this time, thank you and congratulations to all of our Teachers of the Year. And Teachers of the Year, as you're walking out, I know that your time is very, very valuable, and this is going to be your opportunity for you to go ahead and exit out if you choose to, so you can get prepared for tomorrow. How about another round of applause for all of our Teachers of the Year? Thank you so much.
Okay, good. Okay, next on our agenda, we will have comments. Let me make sure. Yeah, comments by patrons or employees of the district regarding agenda items or any other matters. And first on the list here, excuse me, Albert, but last name Sayeg. Albert? You can correct me on that last name there.
It's Sayeg, actually. It's like saying the word egg. Sayeg.
Sayeg.
It's a little different.
All right, Albert. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you to the board for allowing me a forum to speak tonight. It's been, much like in the video we just saw, it's been a pretty challenging past few weeks. I've got a freshman and a sophomore at KHS. I was really looking forward to my girls getting in, both being in high school at the same time for the first time this year. What we're dealing with is unprecedented. I appreciate the district's effort in trying to create a solution that's tenable, at least for the time being. I appreciate the collaboration between Summer Creek High School and Kingwood High School. I know it's a challenging situation, but I believe we can respond to the challenge and overcome some of the obstacles that are in our way if we work together. My primary concern tonight is my children's high school experience. Yesterday, my daughters boarded a school bus at 10:30 a.m. and they arrived at Summer Creek High School at 12:17. Hour and 45 minutes on the bus. They boarded the bus at little after 5 yesterday to come home, and they didn't arrive until 6:30. They were tired when they got home. They're in good spirits. It was the first day of school, so they're excited about school, but it was a long day. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about my daughters. I don't have a solution. I'm not here to offer solutions. I do have historical precedent that I would like to share, and maybe we can use that as a way to maybe come up with a solution and minimize the amount of time that my girls have to deal with this situation. As some of you may know, during the 2007-2008 school year, Kingwood High School underwent some renovations, and during those renovations, the district put together a solution where there were 23 temporary buildings that were placed behind the baseball fields at the high school that could accommodate 46 classrooms. That was something that was done relatively quickly. It was, again, only 46 classrooms, but it's my understanding that much of the damage at Kingwood High School was on the first and second floors, which house the cafeteria, the gymnasium, administrative facilities, staff facilities. Most of the classrooms that the students are educated in are on the third and fourth floors, which were relatively unimpacted. I understand that there are electrical issues or things, the building was significantly damaged. I understand that. It's my hope tonight that I can articulate my strong desire to minimize the amount of time my girls have to go through this situation. I've heard that this may be an entire year, and I'm hopeful that we can all work together and maybe come up with a solution where it's not a whole year. Maybe it's just a semester. Maybe we throw a lot of resources at this problem and implement, temporary buildings much like we did in 2007, 2008. Maybe, again, I'm not offering solutions, I'm just thinking out loud here. Maybe engage K Park to put additional temporary buildings in there so that we don't have to do an hour and a half commute each way, or maybe the commute lessens. Like today, it was only an hour on the bus to school, but it was almost an hour and a half coming back, just the transit time alone. And we're not even talking about extracurricular activities yet. My girls are both in that, so that hasn't even taken effect yet. I sympathize with parents that are dealing with that. My goal tonight was just to let the board know that I'm extremely concerned that this disruption to their high school experience is going to have a negative impact on their academic standing. The whole novelty of this hasn't really worn off yet, so they're excited. School started. They were tired, but they're riding the bus with their friends, so they're all kind of miserable together, if you will. So they're dealing with it. It hasn't worn on them yet, but I think in time it will, and it's going to impact their academic performance. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Sayer. Next we'll have Mr. Ken Reese.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Ken Reese, much like Albert, I'm the father of a 14-year-old who has started Kingwood High School this week. And speaking generally for a lot of people in our community, we don't envy the week that you folks went through as a board and as a district trying to find a solution for Kingwood High School flood. I talked to my daughter about going to Summer Creek, and I was inspired when she said, well, Dad, you know, it's going to be all right as long as we're all together. And I thought that was pretty telling, and I want to express the appreciation that I have and that other people have that y'all found a solution to allow them to stay together. As we interact in the community, parents, different activities, the one question that a lot of people have, as much like Albert brought up, is it's been reported that this could take an entire year, right? And if you talk to a 14-year-old, they say, hey, it's going to be fine. But I think they're overestimating their endurance for this. Albert talked about the time actually being on the bus. Yesterday, the transit time was 3.5 hours. That's getting out of school, getting home, that's getting to school. That's 3.5 hours of transit time for 4 hours and 35 minutes of school time. So what I'd like to ask for, really, of the board, if you could offer, is some insight as to the timeline. Is it really a scenario where it takes a year to renovate the school? Is it a scenario where we are trying to under-promise and over-deliver? You know, we get to Christmas and Humble ISD says, hey, guess what? We're going to open Kingwood High School in January. And understand that timeline. And is there any continued urgency once that timeline's been set for a year that says, can we find a way to find quicker solutions, as Albert talked about? Is there temporaries? Is there another solution that can solve this problem in one semester? Is there any opportunity for that? And are there continued efforts to try to shorten that time frame? One of the big questions that we get is, as we drive by the high school, we drove by the high school on the way here tonight, there was a couple of pickup trucks and a few bags laying outside of the school. And everybody that drives by that school every day is asking the question, why aren't they working 24 hours a day? Why aren't there guys in hazmat suits and big trucks and big machines cleaning the school out so that we can shorten this time frame? Families, the students, as Albert said, they're energetic now, kind of excited. My daughter came home yesterday and said, Summer Creek High School is awesome. It's so much nicer than Kingwood High School. She goes, I don't want to go back. That's day one, right? She called me at 6:30 and said, hey, Dad, can you come pick me up at so-and-so's house? I got off the bus and I don't want to walk home. It's 6:30 at night. If she had an extracurricular activity this evening, she wouldn't have been able to attend that. So as a community, if you could provide some insight as to that time frame, the reasons for the extended time frame. Is it because there's bureaucratic processes that have to happen to find vendors to provide the work? Or is there some way that we can circumvent any bureaucratic processes so that they can get to work and that there are crews that are working. Even if it's dads in the community, we'll pick up hammers, we'll pick up pressure washers, whatever it takes. But we'd like to understand that a little bit so that we can take that message back to the community. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Mr. Michael Harris.
I appreciate you listening to us tonight. Three of us came in and were met by another person that also has a freshman at Kingwood High School. I'd like to say, first of all, thank you so much for finding a solution. My mom was a school teacher for 44 years, so I know it's a difficult set of circumstances you work with just having the school go forward on a day-to-day basis, needless to say, with a hurricane or some kind of travesty like this. Secondly, I'd love to say that I hope everyone at Summer Creek understands just how thankful Kingwood High School is that they have provided us a place to be able to work. Going in and seeing the school, it is truly an amazing school. I think what needs to be focused on, and Ken brought it up a little bit, and so did Alex, and I'll bring it up in a slightly different way. The logistics are what we're most concerned about, and so we're 2 days in, so we realize that maybe things get a little bit better. My son plays football. To give you an idea of his day, he has to meet at Creekwood Middle School at 6:30 to catch the bus. He meets at Creekwood, they go over to Turner Field. At Turner Field, they work out for 2.5 hours. From Turner Field, they have 20 minutes to get ready, then they go over to Summer Creek. From Summer Creek, then he has 20 minutes to go eat lunch. From that point forward, he gets his day done at 4:30. Tonight at 6:40, he still was not home. So he's without doing any of the things that he was hoping to do, possibly a part-time job a couple times a week, volunteering or something like that. He's got 12 to 14 hours that he's awake before he started homework. That's something that I think we have to address, whether it is with temporary buildings, whether it's with some other types of solutions. I think you'll hear a community resiliency to give you all of the support that you possibly need if we understand that this isn't an indefinite scenario. So I don't want to take up too much time, but I appreciate you listening to us, and I certainly appreciate you thinking about ways that we can solve the issues as quickly as possible, especially before they become even more apparent, which I'm concerned that they will. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Fagan.
Thank you for your comments for tonight. We have only had 2 days, and so I was hoping that maybe Mr. Kramer, who has spent the last 2 days with all of this, would be willing to come to the podium and just give a brief update on the transportation improvements. We're monitoring every single thing that you all brought up and want to make progress every day on all of those issues. And then also, I don't know if Nolan, if you wanted to give any kind of an update about Kingwood High School. The number I got was that there are roughly 200 people working inside of Kingwood High School, 12-hour shifts. So if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Cray, after Mr. Kramer.
First of all, guys, thank you so much for your feedback, and it's been a pleasure. I've been on the campus. I get there at 6:15 in the morning, and I leave the last 2 nights at 6:15 because I'm doing the split shift because that's our commitment to both our campuses. So I've seen everything that you've talked about, and certainly we acknowledge, and I've been in contact with Dr. Fagan and our all of our support services, our transportation folks. We made great strides today, especially on the mid pickup in the day and getting kids in the building, giving them more time that they had doubled than they had yesterday. Lunches were very, very smooth, but it is apparent, and we acknowledge this, that the difficulty with Westlake Houston at this time in the evening has presented a challenge for us, and we are working. We made some adjustments on routes. We will make some adjustments tomorrow that we feel will help us a little bit, but it's not. We've got a lot of work to do there. We acknowledge we want our kids picked up as quick as possible, and we're striving for that. And so our transportation department is working feverishly. We've got a meeting at 9 a.m. in the morning to debrief on some other things. And so I do want to thank you for your feedback. We understand the kids are excited. The ones I've talked to, I think the energy, they're going on energy right now. They're going on the excitement of the school year. And I will say this, I've been in the classrooms, and I think the kids, every kid I've talked to has said that instructionally, even though there is a reduction in the time, that the fact that they're, the way the schedule has been set out, they found it beneficial. They've enjoyed the opportunities. The kids have gotten along incredible. The staffs have gotten along incredible. There's going to be a lot of incredible stories for this. And so I'll continue to be the hands on the ground, weekly, to make sure I can come back and report to our Dr. Fagan and our board exactly what's going on. And we are working every day to reduce the amount of time that they're on the buses. We appreciate your patience, and most importantly, we appreciate you being here tonight and letting us know. We love your kids, and we're going to do everything we can do to ensure that we reduce that time to the best of our ability. And I'll have Nolan come up now.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer, and again, I'd like to thank all of you for being here. Just to give you an update on Kingwood High School, we do have over 200 laborers working there every single day. They are running a 12-hour shift from 7 in the morning when they can start till 7 in the evening. There is a noise ordinance that we have to make sure that we're complying with in Humble, but we're making sure that they're in there and working, mitigating that building, trying to balance it out, making sure that we can get everything repaired, fixed, taken out of the building, to get it ready to start contracting it, to get it contracted, get it designed, if you will, and fixed so we can get it. Look, I am also very motivated like you as parents. I have a freshman and a sophomore at Summer Creek as well, and would like them to go back to school full time. So our hope is to get it quickly balanced and leveled off and start the work of reconstructing her as quickly as we possibly can. And so we are working and staging that around the clock. You may not see workers there. Obviously, all the work is on the inside of the building, but we're also staging in the back of the building. So it's off of Valley Mills Drive. Yeah. So it's back there. So we're staging back there. All those workers are working and taking all of that equipment out and trying to make sure we do it as quickly as possible. Okay.
Thank you to both of you. I know that you've both been constantly monitoring and improving the situation. It's not where we want it yet. As far as other solutions, we're obviously continuing to explore every available solution that there is. Temporary buildings have to have a place to go. They have to be delivered. They have to be available. They have to have utilities to them. Then we have the issues of cafeterias and gymnasiums and all of the other facilities that we use throughout the day. So there's a lot of moving parts of a school that are very complex. We want to make sure that our students, one of the things we've heard really loud and clear from families and from students is that they want to maintain that full high school experience. They want electives, they want all of those things. And maybe as the transportation is challenging, they may change their minds, but initially that was a very strong position. They wanted to be together and they wanted to have all that full comprehensive high school experience, including fine arts, athletics, electives, and as well as the core instruction. So we have really worked to try to do that. But again, one last time, we will continue to, we want your feedback. We want to continue to monitor the situation. We're looking at everything under the sun from, convoys of buses with police escorts to, maybe not tree trimming on the first day of school on Westlake Houston Parkway. Shutting it down to one lane wasn't really in our favor there. I know that students I've spoken with who are using Beltway 8, not ideal, but are feeling that they're getting to school much quicker and without all of the traffic congestion too. So a lot of conversations happening with carpooling and parents who are bringing them. I do believe that the traffic through the actual parking lot today was much better, and therefore the turnaround times were better also. So thanks again for your patience and time tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Fagan. Next, we'll have individual comments by board members, and I'll start to my left, your right, with Mr. Carney.
Yeah, first off, I want to say it's just been an amazing community effort seeing everybody come together. I mean, that video was a small slice of what we've all been living for the last 2 weeks, really, and there could have been 100 more stories just like that of everyone coming together. So I know, just looking around the room here, all of us were involved in some form or fashion trying to help out. And it was great to see everybody come out and just put all differences aside and try and work towards a solution to get everyone else back on their feet. So thank you, everybody, for that support. Thank you everyone for sharing all your feedback on the Kingwood High School, Summer Creek High School situation. I know it's not ideal for everyone. The administration clearly is taking a lot of feedback into account, trying to adjust things on the fly and make this the best situation for everyone. So definitely keep sharing your feedback. I know we can't always respond to things directly as board members here, but if you send an email or reach out to us, we're happy to talk through issues that we hear from you. We want everyone's feedback taken into account. We take it all very seriously. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Carney. Ms. Morrison.
I want to ditto Mr. Carney's remarks too, but I also want to say I've had the opportunity this week to go and visit some of our schools. And the resiliency of the staff and the students and the families has been remarkable. Principals who have lost their homes, but their staffs and members of their staff who've lost their homes, but they are there with smiles on their faces. They have their students around them, and our kids are doing great. I want to thank especially you three for the input that you gave. I feel your pain of Westlake Houston Parkway, and I agree with Dr. Fagan when it comes to thank you, County, for trimming trees on the first day of school. I saw that. Just be patient with us. Remember that we're all here for the kids, and that very much continue that. Continue letting us know. We only get better, and thank you, Mr. Kramer, for all that you're doing, and transportation, and Nolan, thank you, because it is remarkable what they're getting done on a daily basis. And we've only been in school 2 days, especially for Summer Creek and Kingwood High School. But your kids are awesome, and they're happy. They're so glad to be back together. But I want to compliment the staff and the students and the parents for being there for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Ms. Lamont Dixon.
First, I'd like to commend the administration again this meeting because they have really been working hard to find solutions, the best solutions for all of the students involved between Kingwood High School, Summer Creek, and all of the other schools as well. To speak to some of the feedback we received today, I'm a Kingwood resident and I was displaced, so now I'm driving from the Summerwood area to Kingwood, to Creekwood and Kingwood Park, and it's been taking me about 45 minutes, so trust me, I do feel your pain. I will say that just in the committee meetings that we've had thus far, your concerns, and even the concerns of the Summer Creek parents that were here at the special meeting, they are being addressed and they are taken seriously. So please continue with the feedback, with emails and speaking so that we know, I guess, kind of how we're doing in the process, even though we are also looking at it as well. But thank you for coming out today and speaking. And then I know this is, I don't want to get emotional because this is a tough thing for me, but I would like to say the inspiring moments were really wonderful tonight. It kind of gave me an overview. I've kind of been in my own little space with my personal situation, but it gave me an overview of the district as a whole and what it looks like as a whole. So thank you very much for that as well. And congratulations to all of the secondary teachers of the year. That's where I started off, so I loved, my first year I was a middle school teacher, so I really appreciate the energy it takes to do that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Lopez.
Thank you. Just, echo the administration. Thank you for everything that all of y'all have done and the hard work that y'all have put in and continue to put in to try to iron out some of these wrinkles that we have. I do think that it would be a good idea for the district to have open communication with folks to make sure that you guys know what's going on, the timetables, what we're looking at. The problems with Kingwood High School were just not that it was water, it was the kind of water that was in there and the mess. I've heard a lot of rumors about redesigning Kingwood High School or refurbishing it or something, and that's not the case either. The school was recently redone just a few years ago. That's not what's going to happen. What I want to do, and what we'll talk about as a board coming up, is to have a town hall where some of these things can be covered. We can also have parents talk about issues that are happening with the schools together, mainly for the Kingwood High School and Summer Creek High School folks, so you can get an update on what's going on. Also, want to make sure we have communications that go out somewhat often, so you can get an update on where we are on options, if we, what we're looking at, just so you know. But I can guarantee you, talking to everybody, because I have a son that goes to Summer Creek, and so, I'm not very happy about the hours of education that he's getting, but I understand the situation, and I also understand this is the only option that we have as a district, is to make sure that everyone knows what I know. And so part of that is our communication plan, which we're going to work on and make sure that you guys know what's happening, okay? So that I'm going to make sure that happens as a board member. Last but certainly not least, the Teachers of the Year, want to recognize and thank them for their service and what they do every day, day in and day out. Those were the Teachers of the Year that were recognized, and you saw the Teacher of the Year in the middle. She's the one that got the car this year. So very, very happy to recognize them again for what they do. Thank you, Mr. Cunningham.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Sitton.
First, I want to congratulate the Teachers of the Year. I know most of them have already gone, but they do an exceptional job on a daily basis. And it's really showing right now with what our community's gone through, and they're showing up, and they're the leaders on the campus, and I appreciate them. Ken, Albert, and Michael, thank y'all for being here. You're exactly correct. Yesterday was terrible. Today was better, though. Tomorrow's going to be better than today. And by the end of the week, we're going to be in pretty good shape. I have full faith in Mr. Kramer, Mr. Correa, our transportation department, and Dr. Fagan, because every time someone like you guys speak, we're passing it right on to them, and then we're getting updates back. Dr. Fagan's probably getting tired of me passing on emails from folks. We're in closed session tonight and get an email that their son wasn't home yet. So here, Dr. Fagan, their son's not home yet. So we're definitely aware, and the administration's aware. But I know that the exchange at noon today was much, much better than yesterday. So that part of the issue was fixed. Now we need to figure out the afternoon part, and I have full faith in the organization that that's going to happen. And I do appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that none of the administration have been through a catastrophic event of this nature. I didn't say much at last Tuesday's meeting, but I do want to say this. The leadership, Dr. Fagan, that you've exhibited, and the way that you organized your team into task force, a data gathering task force, a Kingwood High School task force, and along with multiple others, as well as being out in the middle of the water with your phone, trying to coordinate transportation and getting buses around to move people to Creekwood and get people out of harm's way. That was something that I don't think any of us would have expected. That was above and beyond the way you handled that. And your leadership on the front lines throughout the entire disaster scene. I got more phone calls about the fact that you were out there and your team were out there the whole time. You weren't running away from it. You were there directing people and making sure things got done. And the one thing I want to say, I'm so proud of this community, because this has been my home forever. This has been my family's home since the 30s. And when we interviewed you and we offered you the job, we told you the community that you were going to inherit. And sometimes it takes a disaster to to bring out the best in folks. The way these gentlemen have spoke tonight, they're upset, but very eloquent, very respectful. The way some of the Summer Creek folks spoke last week, they were upset, but very eloquent, very respectful. The way that our community has come out to help those in need is, that's humble. That's humble ISD. That's what humble ISD strong means. And I'm glad you've gotten to see that, because this is what we told you you were getting. And so I want to thank you and your leadership team, and I also want to thank the community for everything you've done over the last 2 weeks as well.
Thank you, Mr. Sitton. And I'll just echo what everybody else has said. I would also like to say to the gentleman that spoke tonight, not speaking for the rest of the board, but I share your concerns. The folks that spoke last Tuesday night, I share those concerns also. I think back to where I live here in the district. 40% of the homes in my subdivision are destroyed, flooded. My baby daughter's house is gone. She's with me now. To add insult to injury, my oldest daughter lived in Miami. And so they made it, and she's a first responder. But, so everybody's stress level is up. But I wanted to say to everyone here, thank you for your patience. This board and along with the administration are in constant communication. We are going to get through this, and we're going to make it. My wife is a school teacher. She teaches at Houston ISD, so luckily she got to do all of the heavy lifting while I was working 16 hours a day for 12 straight days with CenterPoint. And so I owe that woman big time. But I just wanted to say to Dr. Fagan, to you, to your staff, to the teachers, but most of all to the community, thank you. Nobody likes this. I don't like it. But we're going to do something. We're going to get through to it. We're going to get through. So with that, I'm going to end. Pass it to you, Dr. Fagan. Any more final comments? I kind of took you out of order, but I think it needed to be said. So anything else? Pass it to you.
Thank you. Well, I think we've pretty much covered it tonight. I do want to say congratulations to the Teachers of the Year, and thanks to Texan GMC Buick for the car that Carly received as her prize. Very impressive. Just one more part of the community spirit that is Humble ISD, the people that come together to support an incredible school district because they love the district, they love our kids, we love the kids, and we're all in this together. And that's how the last 2 weeks have definitely felt. I want to say thanks to, we could all go on and on about this, but there were bus drivers that drove in unsafe conditions down the wrong way on Kingwood Drive, evacuating little children out of apartments in Kingwood as the waters were starting to come over the front curb at Kingwood High School, and police, Humble ISD police officers escorting them through those waters up the wrong way so that they can get out before it's too late. And so just over and over, day after day, people opening Willow Creek as a shelter, opening Creekwood as a temporary evacuation site, housing first responders at Kingwood Park and at Atascocita High School, collaborating with Tin Roof Barbecue, who wanted to feed thousands of people, and just on and on the list goes, people working around the clock all the time. I'm not sure Chief Cook slept for 2 hours that whole week. I'd call him and be like, it's me again, Chief. And sometimes, and it's a joke, but it's true, there's those of us in Kingwood know you had to walk out into the street, into the middle of the street, and hold your phone in the air and really hope that you might get one bar, because a text that said okay could take 10 minutes to send. And in the middle of a flood, that's not particularly helpful. But we all did it, and we worked through it, and we stood out in the middle of the street for 16 hours a day, and our neighbors walked up and canoed into Kingwood High School, and it was something else that we hope we never see again, but it did bring out the very best in people. I've watched all my neighbors across the street completely deconstruct their homes from the inside and bring it out to the curb, and that's something I hope I don't ever see again. But I'm very proud of the community that we have. the way that we've handled this together and the way we'll continue to go forward. And I absolutely understand that there are going to be trying moments as we work through this, but I will tell you that my team and I are completely committed to doing what it takes to make this a palatable situation and to continue to look for unique opportunities that could be available to us to make changes as we go forward. And we've said that from the beginning, and people who like structure and things to be definite, maybe not excited about the idea of a work in progress, but we really knew we needed to get students and staff back in school and bring that back together. And so we've done that, and I applaud the teachers and the staff at Kingwood and Summer Creek. What they have modeled for students is something that is incredible, and that I hope that we all take forward with us, because they have been, clearing shelves for one another and celebrating the fact that they're not the only choir director on a campus for a year. And talk about looking at the best of things. And I'm a fan of optimism and positive energy. And boy, there's been plenty of that at Summer Creek, Kingwood High School, the combined, bulldog face on the Mustang and all of that, enjoying those things. So thank you, everybody, for your patience and your help and being part of this community and team.
Thank you, Dr. Fagan. Next, we're going to go ahead and move into our items from closed session. Mr. Sitton, I would ask if you would help me here.
Yes, sir. Mr. Vice President, as to the personnel, I move that the board approve the administration's personnel recommendations as presented with addendum.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been motion second. All in favor? All opposed by the same? Motion good.
Mr. Vice President, as to the minutes, I move that the board approve the minutes for the regular board meeting held on August 8th, 2017.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. All in favor? Opposed by the same? Carried.
And last, Mr. Vice President, I move that the board approve the minutes from the special board meeting held on September 5th, 2017.
All right, thank you, Ms. Morrison. Questions? All in favor? Show unanimous. Thank you. Next, we'll move into our board associations and committees, and I'm going to tell it off here. Audit Committee. I got to do double duty here. I should give it to Mr. Carney or Ms. Dixon here, but we'll go ahead and read this Audit Committee here. Really, the highlights, you all have received a report coming from the Audit Committee, and once again, for the benefit of the audience, that Audit Committee consists of Ms. Lamont Dixon, Mr. Carney, and myself, Ms. Sean Fashawn, Internal Auditor. The Audit Committee did hold an Audit Committee. It was held on August 23rd with our external auditor firm, McConnell & Jones. We met really to go over a few items, cash controls, athletics, field trips, and special grants. That report is still in draft mode, but it's going to be a real good report, so I want to commend you, Dr. Fagan, and your folks for the work that you're doing. Any other issues? I think something was mentioned earlier. Sean, we might want to make sure and check about the conflict of interest. I know that it was supposed to got out, but I think we've got some new board members that we might not have gotten that email to them so that they could fill it out. So I think we started that in August, right? About a week ago. Okay, so it's running a little late. But besides that, that's all we have from the audit report. Next, we'll hear from, I'm going to take things out of order here since I don't have any order. I'm going to go with the program eval.
No reports on the program eval. Let me get with Dr. Brown about scheduling our fall schedule.
All right, thank you there, Mr. Lopez. Building and planning, Mr. Sitton.
As you can imagine, we've been pretty busy. We met last Thursday on the first day of school. Thank you to the administration for taking what normally is a 1-hour meeting out of your busy day for a 4-hour meeting. And so I want to thank y'all for that. I want to give the public a few highlights of that meeting. All the board members, you should have received the report from the minutes of the meeting via email. But out of all the facilities, 23 facilities within Humble ISD had sustained some sort of damage. 23. Kingwood High School was decimated. The ISC, the Eggers Instructional Building, was decimated. The new facility we built, or that we bought over by the mall, sustained a lot of damage. The estimated damage right now for Kingwood High School is in the neighborhood of $40 million. It's taking, it's estimated 30 to 45 days alone to dry the building out, to get the moisture out. That's how much water was in that building. We're working with the insurance carrier, we're working with FEMA. The insurance carrier is assigning a dedicated construction specialist to the site to develop the scope of work. As we're ripping things out, we're finding other issues that may or may not pose problems. So we need to make sure those are taken care of and solidified before we move forward from a safety issue. So it's not as easy as just throwing sheetrock back up. I just want you to understand that. But we do have people on site every single day. Mr. Correa and his team, they have a update meeting on Fridays at 3 o'clock. And so as part of that communication plan, as Mr. Lopez talked about, what we're working on is a 30,000-foot elevation type communique that we can send to the board and send to the community after those meetings when there's relevant information. There's a couple agenda items that are on the agenda tonight. Last month, we introduced a potential new elementary concept. And after gathering feedback, we're prepared to move forward tonight as an agenda item on that. There's also, as you remember last month, we said that if we approve that, we're going to need to go ahead and approve an architect because of the timeline that we're on, so that'll be on the agenda as well. Another agenda item tonight is the attendance zone for middle school 9. And we went over that at last month's meeting as well, and we're prepared to vote on that tonight as well, with no changes from what we talked about last month. We also discussed, with all the weather we've had, a completion schedule for middle school 9 in the Groves, and we should have that coming fairly soon.
We'll get it at the meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
Afternoon.
Okay, perfect. Let's see, a couple other things, just highlights here. Balmora Estates is going to start where Ridge Creek Elementary is. And so they've requested an easement for more of a grand entrance into their subdivision, which will also enhance our school property. So you'll see that on the agenda as well. Couple other things that we discussed. It's not on the agenda, but that is the Woodland Hills expansion. As we're talking about traffic issues, one of the things that we're looking at, Woodland Hills is going all the way through to the Beltway, and it turns into Lockwood, which comes into the back of Summer Creek High School. Well, prior to the storm, they had completed a large section from the Atascocita Forest subdivision going that way, and they've completed all 4 lanes past Ridge Creek. So not real sure until it all dries out how big that section is. But what we asked in committee was for Mr. Correa and his team to get with our county commissioners to see, because the money's already been allocated and they're stretched thin, we know. But if there's a possibility of expediting the final stage of the Woodland Hills expansion, which could also eliminate some of the traffic off of Woodland Hills. Off of Lake Houston Parkway. And the last thing I have to say is, in the midst of all of this, we had 41,616 students show up for school, which is 99.2% of our projected enrollment. That means kids are there, teachers are there. We got a great report. This is not building and planning, but we got a great report on our teachers' attendance and substitutes and so forth today. So I'm excited that Humble ISD is as normal as it can be at this point in lieu of what we've gone through. and we've got a lot of work to go, a lot of stuff ahead of us. So I promise that our next building and planning hopefully won't be 4 hours, but we're gonna get through it, I promise. Thank you.
As they say, don't stop that train. Finance, Mr. Sidden.
We did not have a Finance Committee meeting scheduled for September, but Mr. Seal, our CFO, sits on the Building and Planning Committee on the administration side also. So we had a lot of questions and concerns about the finances in lieu of this catastrophe. And one thing I will mention is several years ago, we changed the amount of money we keep in our fund balance. And then we also have different function accounts for different reasons. And in this case, we had a function account for a catastrophic situation like what we just went through. In that account was about $4 million, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Mike? And that $4 million should be enough to fully cover our deductibles at this point. When you have a named storm, it goes from a dollar figure to a percentage of damage. And due to Mike's leadership as the CFO, we well prepared for that. We also carry a 26% fund balance, whereas prior to Mike being here, we carried about a 22% fund balance. So that gives us an extra leeway if a need arises to be able to take care of some of these immediate needs while we're waiting for reimbursables and so forth. So Mike, I want to thank you for your leadership there, and we'll have our full Finance Committee meeting in October.
All right, Ms. Sitton, and I just want to echo thank you for your leadership on both those committees. I serve with you also on the building, planning, and finance, and so Ms. Dixon is on the building and planning, and I think Ms. Conrad's on the finance. But the 4-hour meeting was well worth it, and I just want to say thank you. Legislative, Ms. Morrison.
We have no report this month.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Morrison. All right, we're going to go ahead and go into our consent agenda. Before I do that, though, I don't have one of you. Do you have your consent agenda? Make sure I have it, and I might have it. I stand corrected. She's giving it to me. Need to make sure we have it. Yeah. You got one? All right, well, you just go ahead and we'll just go down. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna use yours. Thank you, Summer. Keep going with it down. Okay, Ms. Sitton, if you would follow along with me, keep score here. And we'll start off with, under governance, the 2017-18 Parent-Student Handbook and Student Code of Conduct. That seems like a consent. Staying under governance, TASB Policy Update 108. Okay, consent. Nothing under Superintendent's Division. Under Learning Division, the school attendance area for Middle School 9. Consent. Under our Financial Service Division, tax refunds. Consent. Waiver of P&I. Consent. Budget transfer amendments, including the release of assignments of insurance deductibles and emergency preparedness for Hurricane Harvey restoration. Consent. Interlocal cooperative, let's see, make sure I get this right. Yeah, interlocal cooperation joint exercise of power agreement, National Joint Power Alliance. Interlocal agreement. Consent. Nothing under human resources. Moving into support service division, elementary 29, new floor plan design and architect selection. Consent. Construction and construction related purchases. Consent. Delivery method of construction remodel for property located at 10203 Birchwich Drive. Consent. Easement request from Land Tejas, Balmora, LT, LLC. Consent. Temporary lease space for displaced ISD personnel due to Hurricane Harvey. Consent. And under district-wide, goods, services, and non-construction services exceeding $50,000 in the aggregate or $25,000 individually. That is also consent. Mr. Sitton, if you would, please. Oh, oh, we got another one on the list. Hold up here.
Funding for the renovation of the property.
Okay, it's D.
Under 9D.
Yeah, it's not on that one there.
It's not on my sheet either.
Yeah, that's okay. We got it right here before we go into a motion. Okay, and this is going to be
Right here.
under financial, and it's going to be under D. It's going to be the,
Funding.
yeah,
This one right here.
there you go.
No, it's this one right here.
Is this one right here?
No, it's not that.
It's not that one. I just went over that one.
Right here.
So it
No,
will be,
that's not it.
that's
Go
not,
down.
we'll
Sorry.
We'll go
Keep
down
going.
one.
It's D, it's right here. Right here, stop, this one.
So,
Okay, it's under support services.
yeah,
Okay,
the other ones get bumped down.
yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Which one's this one right here?
Yep.
Oh, I already said that.
Nope, you did the other part of it.
I did the other part of it?
Yeah, you did
Oh,
this
that
one, but
one-
not this one.
That
Okay.
was C.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one was left off.
It was left
The other
off,
two
okay.
just get bumped down.
So now we got it there. And before we take, let you move into it, Mr. Sitton, and then we have D, action item, funding for the renovation of the property located at 10203 Birch Ridge Drive.
There we go.
That will be a consent. Okay, Mr. Sitton, if you would, please.
All right, so, Mr. Vice President, as to the consent agenda, I move that the board approve the following items by consent. Under governance, item A and B. Under learning division, item A. Under financial services division, items A, B, C, and D. And under support services divisions, items A, B, C, D, E, and F. And under district-wide, item A.
Heard the motion, may I have a second? All right, it's been properly motioned and second. Any questions? All in favor? Show unanimous. Okay. That moves us to any future board business. Anything coming from? Yeah, it's just report. Any future board business? Seeing none? All right. We want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. You guys drive home, be safe. Thank you.
Excellent. Good job, Mr. President.